All right. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you happen to be watching this. My name is Richard, and welcome to Absalom Solutions. Hi, my name is Richard Strother, and you guys probably know me from a few of the videos that I've done before, and if you don't, that's fine. You can check them out. We're not filming in the studio today because I wanted to do something a little more personal. I wanted to kind of get to know you guys, or I want you guys to get to know me. And we're in Montreal, so I'm wearing a jean jacket. This is my Canadian tuxedo, and I wanted to do something a little more personal. I wanted you guys to get to know me and where I'm coming from. So you know about the vision. I mentioned that in vision and goals, but ultimately my goal is all about technological literacy, communication, and actually connecting, not just networking. Like really connecting. I am very fortunate to have had an excellent upbringing, and I'm going to do a few shout outs, not the least of which to my mom, who taught me so much. She managed high-end retail since I was knee-high, and the fact is that she taught me the difference between management and leadership, and she taught me what leadership really is. Not only that, she was big into motivational and Anthony Robbins and that kind of mindset, and there was a lot of motivational and self-help stuff around the house, and I grew up on that, and that kind of influenced a lot of my mindset today. Standards, quality, how to deal with people, and you know what, anybody who says retail, and who turns their nose up at retail, yo, man, I got to tell you, retail is hardcore, and mad respect for anybody who's in retail, and I mean that. My mom, being the very, very intelligent person she is, when I was 11, decided to take her Christmas bonus and buy the family a computer. Well, she wanted me to have a computer around the house because I had already been to day camp and I'd started working on Apple IIs and whatnot. But she wanted a computer around the house because she saw the trend coming. She saw everything moving towards computers. And she wanted me to be, on top of that. Well, that's a big piece. One of the pieces of very good fortune I had was that my mother met a gentleman named Michael when I was 5 years old. And what's really special is Michael's been my father ever since. He's been my dad. I grew up with him, and I'm very, very fortunate. Now, Michael's a chartered accountant, and because of him, he was also in commercial real estate, which meant that he owned shopping malls. Now, where that comes in is Michael taught me the attention to detail. He brought me with him a few times to go and collect the rents and whatnot, and to meet with the business owners and see, again, how people operate. But more than that, I got to see how business models worked. And I got to see how people operate their business, and sometimes how they shouldn't operate their business. And that's okay too. It's a good thing to know. Which means that I got very good at kind of picking it apart. He also taught me, I helped him with data entry and the computer end of things, because that was kind of my forte. And he was already good, but when new systems came in, we'd come together on that. And I did some data entry for him and stuff like that. So I learned the importance of a ledger and how it all comes down to the ledger and the balance of the ledger. And that's important too, because it means that I got a really good sense for business and negotiation, business models. And once you understand a business model, it's really easy to start breaking it down and understanding where these things are coming from. So I owe a great deal of what I do currently to Michael as well as my mom. So my grandparents were hugely influential as well. I spent a lot of time with them when I was younger. The reason that they were so important is my grandmother was a school teacher, but she was great at it. And the fact is, she also taught me, first of all, I learned how the school system worked through her, and I learned that teachers are people too. A lot of kids forget that. And I had the very bizarre experience of meeting my teachers outside of school on summer vacations, or sometimes on weekends when she would get together with her friends. And that actually was hugely influential because it took away the stigma of us versus them, you know? The other thing that my grandmother taught me that's huge is dignity in everything you do, in every aspect of your life. I mean, it doesn't matter who you're with or what you're doing, dignity in every aspect. And that was huge. And then there's my grandfather. My grandfather, Arthur Gould, who taught me one of the most important things in my life. He set me up with this one phrase of never miss an opportunity to learn anything, because there's nothing in life that won't serve you. And my God, was he ever right? So, yeah, people who meet me tend to get a little strange or get a little weirded out. Wait a minute, how do you know about this? How do you know about that? Because all my life, since I was 7 years old, I've been absorbing everything. How a butcher shop operates, to how a fashion show goes together, to sailing. I've done sailing courses. I've gone ziplining. I've even ridden a mechanical bull. That was on my bucket list, and I managed to get that one done. It's all about learning and living, and I love learning. In fact, that was influential in making sure that I loved learning. As I mentioned, I got my first computer at 11 years old. And like most kids, I wanted to play games. Well, not surprising, right? But here's the catch. At the time, yeah, there was Nintendo and Intellivision, there were consoles and stuff like that. But the trick to a computer was it wasn't like modern day. It wasn't like modern day. Actually, it was very much like modern day. But the fact is that you had to learn a lot in order to get the computer to do what you wanted to get the optimal performance from your games. And I wanted to get into special effects. I wanted to do things like Star Wars and Star Trek, Industrial Light and Magic and all of that. But life does what life does, and it kind of worked out a little differently. I left school because of the change of regime, because the school system changed while I was there. I kind of got caught in the gears. So I wound up going to work for a company called Altimage, which introduced me to a gentleman by the name of Frank Graham, a brilliant pre-press person who took me under his wing, and I apprenticed under him. Now, I learned the old school ways. I learned how to use Letraset machines and do film work, like imaging from computer to slide and processing slides. And the advantage was that I learned where technology makes our life easier and where it doesn't. So I learned the old school way. So I could appreciate what the technology does and the logic. And this is the most important part, and the logic. Frank also taught me production mindset, and that influenced everything as well. So production mindset is thinking from the end result back. A big thank you to Frank if you happen to be watching this. And after Altimage, I did some AV tech work. So I actually went to medical symposiums. Again, I got to see more business models. I got to see more places. I got to see how business functions in different areas, especially in the pharmaceutical sector, as well as other businesses. So I got to see how they put on their shows and their presentations, their symposiums, and that was great. Ultimately, what this led me to is technology is simple. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Well, I may know what you're thinking. Technology isn't simple. Technology is simple. It's all based on simple, logical foundations. So what changed for me is that I had access to all the technology I wanted. What made it fun was once you understand the premise, once you understand the logic behind it, when you understand the developer's thinking, the technology itself becomes very, very easy. Now, most people's frustration with technology comes from not understanding how to read the feedback. And you're right, some technology is highly frustrating. It has no screen, or it gives you cryptic error codes. Error code 2356. What does error code 2356 mean? But that's not a failing on the user's part. That's a failing on the developer's part to not make the feedback more user-friendly. Now, you've heard the term user-friendly. It's become quite the mantra in technology. It's become more and more common, more and more relevant. People don't work on logical paradigms, but they do work on paradigms. So I started looking at why the designs we were making, why do we edit the video that way? Why does this poster work and not that poster? How do cultural differences apply? So my work started to include applied psychology, and I started looking infinitely more at why we do what we do and how do we appeal to people. How do we make technology simpler? So, again, technology works in very logical ways, but people don't. People are dynamic. But people work in established paradigms. So this is what neuroscience is finding. Now, I mentioned a little bit about the routines and how we have these particular things like our commute home that we don't remember. Why? Because nothing eventful happened. I'll talk more about this in a future video. I really want to get more in depth. In fact, this is kind of the start of a new format. I'll still be filming in the studio, but I want to take a more relaxed approach. So it's important to know what people value, what motivates them. All of this has been something that I've been studying for, well, the past 20 years, because that's where my career led me. The technology is one part, and while I've done everything from running a print shop and logistics and management, and I've done that, but it's all in service to helping people communicate in the most effective way they can. Here's the thing. Technology can get us away from each other and separate us, or it can bring us together. Technology is not an end, but it's a great means to an end. And that's where we're getting at. Absalom's values, the vision I'm working towards is technological literacy for all, but it's not about teaching people how to fit in with the technology now, but about raising the standard so that technology meets our needs and our ability to connect. So this is what Absalom's all about. We're about using technology and teaching people technology in order to really deliver your authentic message. And that's really what Absalom is all about. That's why it was founded. That's why we're working so hard to make sure that we can help you deliver your message in a way that makes sense to everyone else. And all the experience comes together. And I'm not the only one on this team, which makes it even more interesting. So I'm working with some fantastic people who build websites, who do marketing and online strategy. And this is where we really want to help you deliver your message the best way possible. So we hope you have a happy holidays, whatever you celebrate. Happy New Year to you. And I look forward to seeing you in the new year. Please check out the website at absalom.io. There's a chat feature on there if you want to connect with us. If you want to connect with us through the comments or through here, that's great. Love it. Looking forward to speaking with you, and hope next year is full of health, happiness, and prosperity. And thanks for watching. We met at last, Mr. Bond. Can't resist a good Hollywood joke.